Incremental greetings. So basically, as a completionist user of Supermemo now, I will react to my old self milestones. Incremental greetings. Now it's time to react to the 3 months milestone. In this case, what I did back in the day is a few videos instead of just one large video. So I have this, I think that will be the first one. And then the concepts, production only, and the stats. Basically, it's the other way around because of how it's sorted in this playlist, I think. It's funny that if you check the views, the main one is the least seen. Fascinating. Interesting that I decided, if you look at the date, it's November 23rd. They were updated in the same day. But if you check the length, it's about the same if it was just one single video. So in this reaction, I'm going to react to those 4 together because it's the same milestone, basically. Okay. Nope, I didn't get any comment, it's just myself. Most of what I do or say in this video is now obsolete. Look for videos about the year Supermemo, August 2021. Okay, let's verify that. Hello there, welcome. So, yesterday, I did 100 days of Supermemo. I wanted to record this video yesterday, but I was unable to do so. So, more or less, I have been using Supermemo for 3 months, a little longer. 101 days, let's see. About 3,000 memorized items, memorized 29 per day, 96%, the retention was higher. That's because I added some English language items that are easier. And the average time has decreased because of that, below 5 seconds. And the speed still is at the 2000, which is really high. On repetition count, I think it was in the 2000 something, now it's at 8,400. And I have a bunch of English collection because look at this, 50,000 pending elements. Okay. And I have Mandarin tones as well. Nice. So now I'm already doing language learning, already in 3 months. Okay, I don't know why I thought I will need a few more months for that. Okay. Done 3 months. And since the last video, a month ago, I did some significant changes. The first thing is that I added more stuff via XML import. What I added is Norwegian. So this is incremental reading from the Wikipedia. This is very close to quitting the PhD already. I'm getting there. How words, grammar. My only motivation to learn Norwegian was to do the international mention of the PhD, which didn't succeed because I had absolute no, how you call it in English, support. So I had to dig everything myself, do everything alone, and without support and without money, I ended up nowhere. And so on. And this is from an Anki deck that was almost new. So I don't care if I lost the progress because I did just a few hundred repetitions. Yeah, a few hundred repetitions, mostly at the beginning, so just a few days. And I got this from one of the universities in Norway, that they put a lot of stuff for learning the language, absolutely for free, even with native sounds and so on. So I could generate it, which I did. I generated the Anki deck, but since it was already doing Supermemo, yeah, let me also generate it to Supermemo in this case. Oh my god. So you have this Norwegian, a lady, how you say it, and here with the numbers, now you can tell for sure the Norwegian had tones, even if it's just 2. And this is the
The flag is just a template, but it's not required to be pre-added here in plain text. And then the sound file.
Here. I needed lots of times.
And then do you see what happened in the 2 months milestone? So what I did is forgetting the leeches. So now in my collection are not there. So I actually ended up deleting them. But at least what I was doing is, let's just forget them, and I will cover these eventually.
And I lapse those cards. So those are my
Items.
own items. I think I added this one.
Then it disappears because when you forget the card, so sending to the pending queue, you reset the history. Therefore it becomes 0 repetitions and 0 lapses once again. So I will need to check the history, Control Shift H, to see the lapses.
Despite since last video, more or less. Just very few. Now I'm not adding new items because now I have the advanced English. So first I want to process all this collection, and when I finish I will be adding my own items, because
this is what I thought at the beginning. I did a lot of back and forth because of other reasons. That now priorities are a complete mess because I added a ton of stuff from the advanced English collection. That means 40,000 places in the priority queue, out of which the incremental reading is just 23,000. Half of that already. So for all reasons I'm more technical, then let me split again, let me rejoin, so it's back and forth, back and forth. But every time I had a reason for this.
now I don't know if there's a card, there's an item for that. So I'm just making a list outside of Supermemo, and eventually I will go and process.
I actually forgot that, I was a draft in Gmail. I was adding words there in the list because I didn't want to add them in Supermemo just yet. I remember I did that, as a precaution.
That incrementally.
Oh, what? That's it? That was just a minute. Next, I have been underusing concepts. Finally. Yeah, you can see I shoot the video in the next minutes. So I think it's the same. Okay, I got one comment. Thanks for keeping it post. Yeah, thank you. At least 18 likes. Oh my god. Now it's unlisted because I thought, let me review this, and as I review these videos by reacting to them, I either put them back to public, or I confirm it's absolute trash, there's nothing of value, and I deleted it. I deleted one when I said, the incremental video doesn't work, and that's about it. It was just a 2-minute video. I deleted that one. There was nothing essentially to learn from that. And in this case, I think it would have been nice to keep this in a single video, to be honest. But one of the things that also repeated in my channel is that, I do long videos, and it works for a while, then it doesn't. Let me do shorter videos and more videos. It works for views, but those time is terrible. Let me switch back. So I cannot cater all of the audience. It is what it is. So that's why sometimes it's one long video, many videos, and then again, 3 years, for instance, a long video, half an hour. There's not much consistency here and there. Nice. So there are the comments in this one. Yeah, so let's follow with the concepts.
Hello there. Welcome to Plausible Learning Supermemo. So now I have been using Supermemo for 100 days.
The name of the channel back then was Plausible Learning Supermemo. all times. And look at this, I'm doing this incrementally. So I had Supermemo 18, now I put my name, full name by the way, until this. Well, this is a backup. More or less will be like this, but it's out of, it's disordered, but something like this, right? Welcome to Unlearning, Incremental Greetings, and Palau, and so what we say, and stuff like this. I did this incrementally.
About 3 months. As you can see now, my items count is so high. You could think, how in the hell you have 84,000 items already without...
A big hint you're getting already is that this was shot as a whole. Later, I divided this by chapters, which I usually do, but instead of just timing chapters, I split the video. Because, hey, I'm still doing something else that is not about the concepts still. That's why sometimes you will realize this, that I shoot a video and then I split it. And sometimes the opposite. There were different videos that I shot and then I put them together.
With this little time. Well, I imported the English collection. A little more than half of my collection is just the English collection, the advanced English. That's it. And I have imported a little more articles, and I have split them. Not all.
A few more, not a little more articles. That is weird grammar. At least what I see is, look, the advanced English collection is a concept, okay. But Norwegian, non-Norwegian, is the vocabulary, the concept. Interesting. Mandarin tones. So I have something about language learning that they have are now concepts. Now I have Supermemo 18 here. Research, that is not the PhD by the way. Quotes, people, incremental learning, writing video books and so on. Then what I had quotes as a concept. For one thing, to use the hook. So it goes there, whatever I got it from incremental learning, it will go become a child of this element, and it will auto apply the template, the quotes template. That's why sometimes you will see that, hey, it's an overkill.
Only the most priority, the high priority. And this all.
And overall, I already had 84,001 elements in just 3 months, in 100 days. This is already quite much, and this now, it becomes hard to prioritize. This noob doesn't know to prioritize this collection, this size. No. Not even in my future selves that we'll see, I will be able to manage that. Not until 2 years in, at the very least. That's why after splitting the English items was, once again, I'm able to prioritize well.
Also makes the account bigger. So what I do now is that I have this folder imports, and you can see the subfolder.
I did rearrange, yep, because I had too many children. If you remember, I kept importing, so I reached the limit. I did this, which is quite ugly. I kept this for quite a lot of time. I would say half a year at least, and then I did it by year. So, hey, now it's a new year, like 2026. Hey, let me create manually a new folder, and then that becomes the hook. So instead of importing to the parent, it will be to the folder of the year. So at least I know, grosso modo, that was imported in the year 2001, 21 or 22. So I know how old that is just by there, because are just placeholders. It's imports that I have to decide where it goes.
Are auto-generated. What I did is this, tools and regroup.
Yeah, here you go.
Because I was scrolling up and down so bad. And I chose 20.
20.
Because for me, with 20 items, I don't need to scroll.
I don't, not necessarily items, elements. Yeah, Exactly, I did 20 just because it fits my screen. I do now usually 25 because 25, 40 times 25 is 1000, but this rule of thumb basically. So I can know that when I multiply, it's a round number, it's 1000. So when you have these 1.3, 1.3, and 1, so now I know that this at maximum will have the scope of 1000, stuff like this. More or less, because then it depends on the children you get, but you know what I mean. And it still fits the screen. And what I did is that, oh, this paradox, this goes to psychology or to da. And very incremental, I have moved a lot of stuff. And then via subsetting, I did some years that, oh, let me finish this off so I can get rid of the year. That's why in my collection, well, that's a backup, but we'll get it. Do you see? I don't have the year 2023 or 21 or 20. All of those years have been processed, so are inside incremental reading already. And look how little I imported this year. Of course, that's not what I mean. I imported more, but what happened is that I already decided, hey, this goes here, this goes there. I decided the concept already. This is, okay, high agency in 30 minutes. Where do I put this? Or hallucinogenic mushroom. There's the match. That means that if I do a subset here and put this in my incremental reading folder and decide which concept it deserves, or create a brand new concept, if that is the case. And I will get rid of 2025 right there. But in the year 2022, it's still massive. I will need a lot of stuff, but if you check this, I will have a significant amount of items. Let's see. Yeah, well, not too shabby, about 400. So that means that I have been processing stuff here, even though I didn't spend time moving it in. That's because at some time later on, I think quite late, I oversimplified my approach with concepts. We will see this. And now I'm paying the consequence of this oversimplification still.
So that's the sole reason here. And also, what I will want to do, and is what Wozniak is suggesting, is that I think he calls this folder to do.
Yep.
Hello there. So this video is a continuation. I have been using Supermemo for about 3 months, 100 days.
What is this editing? So I start like a new video? And this has been online for years? Facepalm. Well, what I just told you. Yeah, I call it imports, and for many milestones you will see I still call it imports instead of to do. And now are just the years.
One of the other things that I realized is that
By the way, I think now I will say about the concepts. So this was not off topic. This was actually a mistake of editing then. So perhaps I shot the video only for concepts already. So my assumption was wrong this time.
I haven't used concepts.
Here you go. Yeah. So I just make the decision before the decision to do multiple videos before recording. It was just a mistake in the editing. Oh my god.
That match. So I have been using concepts for what I have been importing or generating via XML, like the keyword shortcuts from Anki, everything from Anki and so on.
So basically what I needed is, now that I have made a quite a rich registry of templates, hey, now let me use concepts so I can auto-apply those templates. Before I didn't have those templates, so I didn't have this requirement, this need, or this wish to auto-apply those. Later on, hey, I want the hooks, like the quote. I want to use the hook. I don't care about the template necessarily. So I needed to get to this stage that, hey, now this justify having more concepts. Even though I read the documentation, what were the concepts, how you work with concepts, until you don't use it yourself, you don't see the value or the use of concepts. Just as a fraction of the entire thing, you are not going to understand incremental reading fully until you don't do it yourself. You don't try it yourself. And you are not going to understand the relevancy, the power that it has. How absolutely powerful it is, especially in the long term. But you need to be a guy like this, that didn't give up Supermemo and has spent a tremendous enough of time and effort to become fluent in the method and the toolkit. That adds a lot of layers of friction. So that's why this reaction series, instead of reaction to my milestones, is called Why I Didn't Quit, Supermemo.
So if I go, I only have 22 concepts, even though I have 52 templates. This doesn't add up, so I have very little.
Doesn't add up. Can you see that for now my perspective of concepts is just to apply templates?
And many concepts are built in. And this is very big. That's my default when I import the incremental.
And you can see already some sort of breathing concept registry convention. That why help Supermemo psychology is in capital letters, all caps. That's the reason for it.
Learning. This is from AutoHotkey script that I have been using recently. That generated stuff, default, generated the stuff.
Generated is that it comes from an XML import, basically.
Stuff. So at the end of the day, you only have memory.
Periodic table, generated the stuff. I left that one.
Bias, psychology, quote, research, Supermemo, and that's it. Because I'm not using this anymore. So I have like 4 real concepts for my incremental reading. So what I want to do now.
Exactly. So even if you have 20 something, yeah, but 20 are static. It's something I generated once and forget. I'm not setting ever that concept ever. So in reality, I only had 4 concepts, to be honest. And when I realized, hey, now that I use the hook, now it makes sense. Now I see the value of this feature. And keep in mind, those were one of the features that were added quite recently, back then in the year 2020. Because before Anki, Supermemo had categories that were not that easy to use or that convenient as concepts. So the concepts are the evolution of categories. But at least I identified, hey, I have been using Underusing concepts. And by the way, there's a second chapter that is the done feature as well.
And from what I have read in the Guru wiki, is that Wozniak is suggesting to have this deck. He calls it
branch. You're gonna still see that my brain kind of defaults to Anki terminology still. It's been 11 years on the time of the recording, so. And now it's 16. But since I don't use Anki that much now, I don't have this trouble. Actually the opposite. I will say item, flashcard. I will need to overwrite what I say.
To do. I'll move this incrementally to your main folder, knowledge.
Branch.
So now I only have emotion.
Because could be a concept, therefore it won't be a folder, if we are precise.
Paradoxes, and APA vowels. That's all I got. And even though I'm not using what's it called, concepts.
In this case, I didn't had the need to do that. I did manually moving the knowledge tree, and that's because of how important this from Wikipedia was very sequential. So in my knowledge tree, I had these one next to each other. So I had all of the most of the emotions right there. So I just move it, boom, and that's it. At least is a side effect, even if I didn't know that at that time of the recording. It kind of worked as an A/B testing. I had a hierarchy, but manual. Manual hierarchy with no concepts. And then I had some hierarchy with concepts. And then I will realize the difference. Oh, now it's worth doing the concept, absolutely. Because now all of this is still manual approach. I won't have auto-apply templates. I won't have the hook, so I will have to manually move this every single time, and so on.
So one of my intentions will be doing this. So now if I go to learn, it's okay. I did like to close the lessons. Maybe just for redundancy, I will make a Q&A. Yeah, we'll do this now. Item. So now I only be
here. I'm not aware that actually I'm not doing what I want to do, because what I will have done today is do a dummy close deletion and edit the content. Because what I did now is a manual input, is a manual creation. So this item happens to be a child, but has no relationship. It's just physical. So it doesn't inherit the parent status. So what you have seen here, oh my god, the menu. Here, this parent will be lost. The concept is not set, nor the template as a consequence.
Item. So now I only be using item, the text, stripping, okay. How can you do this, stripping the HTML?
And then later I published a video. Later on, I actually dedicated a video once I discovered how to do it. You can paste plain text in Supermemo. So getting rid of the HTML or whatever they may be there. So you don't have to use Ctrl-Shift F12 right there.
Together, without relying on then getting rid of this.
Exactly.
Okay. Just for redundancy, which are the primary sites
So inefficient.
of the brain where the addictive drugs act. No.
Wow, the microphone was the same, but the software was different. And the software makes the difference. The noise cancellation is not there. I can hear in very great detail the steps of my dog. Incredible.
Nucleus accumbens, and that's it.
Do you see it? All of those, the references are lost in the element I created. They are not seen here.
That's it.
Many limitations. That's why it's not worth it. Even if you don't want a close deletion, you will do a close deletion because it's how it's implemented in Supermemo. And then you will reformulate and get rid of the close deletion.
Now you can. One of the other things that I have been doing, one are concepts, and the second is done. What I did is dismiss and dismiss and dismiss and dismiss. And I had a couple of...
But before I prime myself, usually that's true. So with tutoring, especially kind of newbies, that they have been a few, like me, 3 months, something like this, they have this tendency that, no, I don't want to delete content, right? Because what if I lose track and whatever? And that's usually what happens. because since they lack the expertise, they will do extracts, verbatim extracts, hey, that's what they want, without context. When they see that extract as a topic in isolation, what is this? I need to rely on the source and check again what they did, right? You may have this skill still pending to be developed. So you rely that, no, let me dismiss it so I can get to the parent. Because if I say I apply done, I will remove the content. So this fear is comprehensible because of this lack of a skill. Once you improve this, you realize that I don't care. It's actually wasting, it's polluting my search queries, right? And I will only keep if I want incremental writing, kind of thing. And I wanted to keep it for reference because I want to cite the reference, which in Supermemo this is not implemented at all. That's why it's really convenient to use references with incremental writing within Supermemo. And other than that, I will just, if I want, it will be temporary. That I don't want to take decisions now. Let me continue. Or I will have a local copy, basically. That this is it's very likely I won't see it again because perhaps it's a tweet or it's a message in a Discord community. So the person can delete that comment, or if he gets banned or I get banned, I won't be able to see the comment again, or it will be really hard to look for it. So it will be there, but I will need a search query. I will have a lot of hits. It will take a long while to do it. Okay, let me get a copy outside of Supermemo, and that's it. Easy. Just in case it gets deleted and you cannot backtrack, you will have the URL tested enough. Something like this.
Hundreds dismissed items.
So this fear, eventually, it's just a matter of time you develop the skill of having well-done context, let's say. It's self-sustained, what you do. You don't need further context that is not there. Then this fear goes away, and you just cherry pick what you want to keep. I still do some exceptions. Now a lot.
Supermemo. Yesterday, I did 100 days of using Supermemo. And the big change I did, I had this as a deck in Anki, but I did just a few, 200 repetitions. So I don't mind starting from scratch.
Well, with the example, I actually forgot the Norwegian thing. So you can see that, hey, this comes from Anki. What I could have done is the other way around, right? Hey, you have this, boo. What does that mean in English? Norwegian boo, or even the part of a speech. Oh, it's to live. That will be passive. So what they did directly is active recall. Since I don't know Norwegian enough, I rely on a different language to get the minimum, and then you will start creating monolingual flashcards.
But the thing is that I did reverse, I did flip the order of Q&A. So now it's production. I don't have recognition.
Because in Anki usually most people will do, because it's easier, passive review, kind of, and then you will have the sibling card that it will come later. Because you have the boring, all of this that you have in Anki, and it's automatic. The only thing you have to do is create another card type within the node type. And if you want, you can create conditionals. That only if it's different, or only for verbs, or whatever. So not all of them will have the second card type. Or only when there's audio available. Stuff like this, you can do it. That is first why I had so many cards and so many repetitions as a consequence in Anki, because I did several times both directions. So this created more load than just having active recall since day one.
What I was doing before is first recognition, very stretched in time. Most likely when I was about to finish the deck, Or
That's important detail. Yes, because you have the buffering of 1 day. That means you will see the next sibling next time. So what I did is that I suspended the other cards that were generated until I haven't done a section or a big number, like the first 1,000 or by milestone. That hey, now we finish the year. Now that we are in January, let me unsuspend what I have done last year. Whatever that is. If it's a lot, it's just a few. It goes by milestones, time-wise. So I did this time to time. Later I had more volume. I did more repetitions, so I did this more often. Like once a month, we start a new month. Let me do the query. Hey, the cards which the first card is already mature or above this threshold. Those are the ones. Okay, let me tag those or let me do whatever. And then, hey, let me now do the second, filter the second card of the same nodes and suspend those. And I will see them more or less not in the same order because I used random, but a constraint of just that subset. I did this manually, time to time. And then the other way around was very mature. The passive, recall, were mature, so only the ones that I really forgot, I will lapse and see them. More or less in the same session that I will see the production. Later, I have done this to later realize that was not needed. And I could have done production since the beginning. It's tougher, yes. But that's what happens with vanity metrics. Hey, I can do 1,000 repetitions in 1 day. Yeah, because they are passive. It says recognition. That's not taxing for the brain. And I think recall it's tougher. But when I did it with kanji, oh yeah, I spent a lot of time for repetitions, and I don't advance much metric wise. So the amount of flashcards I memorize, oh, it's just a few hundred a month. It's not a big deal. I learned a lot more because everything was production, was active recall. So then, yeah, in the other deck, yes, I did 2,000 a month, and I did so many repetitions. Yep, that doesn't translate. I know more. I know the same thing. To simplify, let's assume it was kanji as well. Yep, I know the same. The same number of kanji. I did more flashcards and more repetitions as a consequence of having more flashcards, but also the average number of repetitions per flashcard was also higher. So a lot more time, a lot more commitment to no benefit at all. No benefit at all. So it is only useful to say vanity metrics. Hey, I did 1 million repetitions. You don't. I'm better than you. It's the only thing. That, hey, I learned more than you. By no means. It's like a battle of honor in negative sense. That, hey, that demonstrate I am a very inefficient learner using a spaced repetition. So what I was bragging, let's say, or not bragging because I was not doing it, but I felt the feeling internally, so it was the same thing. I was just not doing it actively. But I was, let's say, proud of having this number, right? That, oh, I surpassed 1 million, 2 million, 3 million repetitions, and so on. And I then I realized, much later, and before, so this guy in the recording already knows, that, oh, I was doing the other thing that I was supposed to do. I was full of proud for this metric to realize that I was being so silly and thinking the opposite of reality. I was demonstrating and being so proud of, first, how inefficient I was using spaced repetition. For so long, I'm being proud of that because I was an absolute ignorant. That also tells you that not because you put a lot of time, effort, you become a master. Yes, you are very familiar with the tool, as I was. And I could teach other to do some fancy stuff or very obscure stuff, arcane, because you need to know all of the non-standard use cases and stuff you can do in Anki with to simplify with some playing with JavaScript and some add-ons that you can do some trickery and whatever. But at the end of the day, how proficient I was with in Special Edition, not that much regarding this. So, oh my god, such a big deal. I mean, all of this topic deserves its own series.
Finish it at all. I did the production cuts, and this usually was several years before I started. I think that's not.
By the way, it's a pity that I didn't do much. I get going with Norwegian, but very soon I will got the news that I'm a dead. There's no way I can succeed in my PhD already, so there's no victory possible. That's why then I desisted with Norwegian because then I don't I don't have the time. Let's say if I had time, perhaps I would have continued with the Norwegian language. What I like was about the two tones thing. The fact that there were no standards, you have two standards of the writing, so that the phonetics and the writing is not hard-coded like in Spanish. And the grammar was extremely similar to the English language, especially German, which I don't speak. But according to someone else that was New German, it's super similar. So that means that I will have not much trouble. So it will be quite quick to learn. And I had plenty of material to go through the language learning. So it's a pity that then I just moved on. One of the examples that you learn the language not by the language itself, but because I will want to emigrate there, even if it's just for theoretically a year or I think 2 years maximum. I think it was, and come back. But yeah, you know what I mean. It's a different motivation.
Wait. In Supermemo, I don't want to do this. I don't want to recognition. I tried this. So now what I have is I have the English and I have to recall the Norwegian. So let's say lady,
Dame.
dame. Before in Anki I had this. Okay, this means lady, and then I had to recall the gender. This is pretty obvious. It's feminine word, but in some cases it's not. So that's a big deal, and I can tell I go a lot slower. In the sense of doing repetitions, I need more time.
That's a misconception. I mean, it can be described like this. You're not going slower. You're not going faster. It's not the same thing. So you go at the pace you should go. But production is more time consuming, is more taxing for the brain. The recall, what you need to travel with neurons is more effort, so it makes sense. But you require fewer repetitions. Doing passive recognition, of course it's faster, but you're doing something else. You're not doing active recall. It's not so for the brain. It's not the same exercise. It's like saying, "Hey, I want to go to McDonald's because it's faster." No, a restaurant, of course, they will take a while because they don't start cooking the meal before you order. Unless there's only one thing, like ramen in Japan, something like that, that only the garnition, or the side dish is what's different, but the main dish is always the same, so they can preemptively cook it. You will order, a measurement of you order, they will start cooking, so they will take a while. And in McDonald's or fast food, everything is pre-cooked. The chicken already have the sauce or the... I don't know how you it's called in English. So I think it's frozen. They just put it with oil, boom, and in a few minutes it's done. Yeah, but you're doing a lot of trade-offs here. It's not faster. So if you go back to normal kitchen, they cannot do it faster. It is what it is, right? So imagine that McDonald's was just not production, but recognition. Oh, I recognize there are nuggets. Boom, in the oil. I didn't do those nuggets. They were already created. Half created. Even half raw. I think you get my point.
And I do fewer, a significant amount, less amount of new items per day.
A good thing we will see later on in those milestones is that I will be able to tell you how many repetitions I did in my English collection, which is still, because the Advanced English collection, I will stretch it to more than 200,000 in Supermemo, which is already a lot fewer than in Anki, but then I will have more or less the same milestone in incremental reading, and I did 20,000. And you'll say, hey, you didn't do much, right? But the opposite is true. So, repetition-wise, I didn't do much, but the learning I did is a lot more. But most of my items, I only need 3 repetitions because I have been using Anki for Supermemo for 6 years. So I didn't have repetitions after a decade, unlike in Anki, right? So I still have the next repetition to become outstanding many times, many elements. So I will have another wave that I rep once again my entire collection, if this makes sense. Even though, if you have the metric of the next 3 decades, which is a thing in Supermemo, you see future, here it says 29 reps. This is incredibly high. What I do with most of what I do in incremental reading is 6, 8, especially if I'm late in a repetition and I succeed, I'll do just a bunch of repetitions in the next 3 decades. Because I create my own items and I reason when I reformulate, this is like mental exercise you do at each repetition. It's the opposite of being a parrot, that I see this very often in Anki, ba, 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 and it's by pure rote. Optimized by the scheduling algorithm, but it's still rote. That's why, hey, the amount of repetition doesn't tell me much. And if I normalize this by the amount of time I have put on the software, because in the recent year has been significantly less, even though the repetitions I do per time of use, so I have used, let's say, Supermemo for 100 hours. And in those 100 hours, how many repetitions I did? So it's normalized, because if I use 100, 2000, it will be on a scale of 20. So I can compare. It's still it's a dramatic difference. Then I can tell you I succeeded. So in this case I have done 8,000 repetitions already with language. But hey, I can tell you I did just so many repetitions in incremental reading, but I remember a lot of facts, and more than you may realize, because some facts have crystallized. So perhaps I had different items that now become one. I deleted the other ones because now I have the generalization. So I do get the same knowledge with fewer questions and answer pairs. Not just that I review them less often, which is also true. I have less. So for the same knowledge, I need fewer flashcards to maintain this knowledge in my brain. And this drastically changes with incremental reading. incredible.
But the thing is
Huge.
that the speed doesn't. It's not important. It's not relevant.
And the opposite is true. I have seen some tutorials. They had crazy speeds, so even after a few years, and now importing, by the way, from XML. So everything was genuine through Supermemo, web import or clipboard, extracting, closing, that they were in the thousands. And they had a huge number, like thousands per month. And they had crazy levels, like what they had in Anki, right? But in Supermemo. And some of them, they're like kind of proud, right? Even if they don't do it. You feel like their mindset is in this side that, hey, it's good. The more I have, the better. The opposite. The more you have, the least efficient you are being. If it was a zip file, your compression capacity is worse because there's more file size and more volume. So if you're evaluating the file size as your capacity to compress, you're in the wrong side. The metric evaluates the opposite. You only have a fraction of this, and you can achieve the same result of having the same files. And you can retrieve the same information in all of the files, but in a fraction of the file size, you succeed in the compression. It makes sense. That's why when I see those super high, even if they use language learning, that is what will create the most volume really quick. So the volume per unit of time, when it's that exceedingly high, I'm pretty sure, without you telling me, you're wasting your time. You can do something better without knowing what you do. Just by the absurd amount of numbers that they do 400 repetitions a day or something like that. You're not using your own content. You generated the content, if it's not from someone else, with AI or whatever, or programmatically. Most of what you do is extremely inefficient. I have been on the same page. That's why I'm pretty glad that in 3 months in Supermemo, when I tried, very quickly I realized, hey, it doesn't make sense to have this passive like in Anki. And this could be that I'm still cheating, that is pre-done. So I transformed that, but it's pre-done. I didn't do this myself. In the sense that if I don't follow the PDF, which I did, but I could not follow it, I will see married for the first time in Supermemo already, in an item format, which will be a massive violation of the 20 rules. It's a big deal.
You want to learn good quality and semantically. So what I do when I new
Wow, I have a pretty good analogy now. Wordle. Who is the best? Yeah, there's some component of luck, obviously, but to simplify, who is the best player of Wordle? The player who needs fewer guesses, that gets to the target word with fewer attempts. So let's say that I do it, a Supermemo user does it in 2. And I show off that, hey, the game, let's say that caps at 7 or 8. I don't know how many you can do in the original game. But I'm proud to say, hey, I have an average of 20. I can put 20 words before I get the target one, right? I'm better than you. You're using the wrong metric. Yes, you can tell me that you have memorized or that you have reviewed odd more times than I did. But you're being the definition of less efficient. Based on the letters there are, and then and the words I know in English, hey, I know there's a T, an H in a different perspective, different place. Could be that it's a TH put together, but not at the beginning, which is usually what happens. So it's in the middle. Oh, which words do I know that has TH in the middle, that have 5 letters, and doesn't contain, I don't know, T, P, W, or whatever other words you may have, right? This is pattern recognition. And I can apply the knowledge better than the other person. So even if we simplify, we have the exact same active vocabulary, I have an increased awareness of this vocabulary because of incremental reading. So therefore, I can use it better than the other person. So if I can get, discarding the lag component, because sometimes you get like one letter off, and this letter can have 6 candidates, and you can try one of those candidates, there's nothing else you can do. Simplifying this example, the other person will try and do more words, more repetitions, more volume, more often. Who is a better player? The person who has fewer flashcards and fewer repetitions per flashcard is more efficient at learning, assuming keeps 95% retention rate. Is being more efficient in the learning. Then how do you and the different question is how do you measure the volume of the knowledge? This person A knows more than this person B. Yes, you could use those, comparing more or less the same person. If you get those milestones, I have that many repetitions or that many memorized items, right? About 3,000. Before I had 2,000. So with one extra month, I added 900. I have more volume of knowledge than before. But if I compare against some other person that has about 3,000 items, doesn't tell me much. Doesn't tell me much at all. I cannot say that this person has more knowledge than the other one. Could be that this has a lot of redundancy and a lot of like this that creates a lot of items for nothing. That it's just different order of the same thing. And the person who did more incrementalism did a lot of insights through incremental reading and iterations, incrementalism. They will have the same number of items, but on those 3,000 items, there's a lot more knowledge crystallized there. So the take-home message is that real knowledge is really hard to measure. And what is easy to measure, usually it's pointless. Like memorized items per day doesn't tell me much. Doesn't tell me about my knowledge at all. That's why usually people who have extrinsic motivation or they have ego, vanity, I want a higher number than other people. They will just play by the metrics. And what they will do to play the metrics is something that is always inefficient for the learning perspective. So my best as today, after 16 years of spaced repetition and about 6 of incremental reading, my best my best suggestion is don't take this as a reference. We'll realize later on, I think 1 year and a half milestone, that I say my opinion about stats, that after a year and a half is, this is pointless, it's just descriptive, doesn't tell me much. It's just, okay, I have this many topics per day or absolute number. Okay. Is this telling me something relating of the quality of the collection? No. It's the same fact, the example I put in the video, how many times I blinked. From now on, now that I know how many thousands of times I blinked during the day, now I will blink more, because I want to be the first one, the person who blinks the most per day. But blinking a lot, there is a health benefit of blinking a lot, to a certain degree. You don't have an increased humidity in the eye or hydration or whatever. So therefore, it's just vanity metrics. And you will be wasting your time just purposely clicking quicker than do something else that is more valuable of your time. To put a silly example that is easier to understand.
New cards, new items. Let's say student.
Student.
I tried.
Here's an example that is the same. It's just the intonation or that the U, is not precisely the same. There's a narrow transcription from English that is not equivalent. But overall, you can say that it maps to the same vowel. So the five basic vowels, it maps to the U, yes, it's not the same one. Because, for instance, English doesn't have just 5 vowels. Written, they do. It does. But phonetically, there are, I don't know how many, 14 or something like that. But this is a lot easier. That's why I can put student in English, because I realize, I don't have to say the definition of a student. I already know that. Or sometimes I will say it to not indicate a hint, because I don't want to hint that, hey, in this language they are the same spelling. I don't want to say that preemptively, because I will be kind of cheating. But in this case I memorized, most of the time it's just which pattern it follows. So for me this, instead of meaning, it becomes a phonetic item. How do you pronounce this? Student, which possibility permutation you have here. And that's about it. Because I already know it will be almost the same.
To make simple sentences. So I can say now, oh, that lady is a student. And I do this incrementally.
That's a good point. That's why it's better to also do sentences and do your own. And now with the help of AI, this is massive. It's absolutely easier than ever. And you could actually check yourself if you're right. That, now I have family, she, lady, student, and Roma. So I can say, hey, she's the lady, this lady is married, and it's a student from Roma. Or something like that. Oh, I have professor. Then I can say, hey, my professor is Norwegian, and it's called, bam, and the name. So I'm actually using the vocabulary I know. This is really different than just by rote, keep going, and learning more vocabulary that I'm not using. I'm just passively recognizing it. Yep, if I continue, I will have, I know how many I had, 1,000 and something. I can tell you, hey, 1,000 memorized items in a few weeks. Look at that. I know more than you do. Yeah, but then make a sentence in Norwegian. Oops, I didn't get to that point yet. Then what's the point, right? And the person who does more slowly, incremental, but in the right direction, that it's already applying, and then you will start seeing patterns and grammar, even if you don't notice it, and you will kind of implicitly know, hey, in English it will be like this. In Norwegian it's very similar, but hey, that's not exactly the same. And I start like this.
And I can tell, oh, this old lady, it's married, or.
And I know because I have done this several times, especially with Japanese. Ba, 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 and I learned thousands of words. But yeah, I never applied them in my life. I just memorized them in Anki. And I did the other way around. And now with Korean and with this flow with AI,
So on, because I have here already the word. Even though I.
And here, it's gift. So that is, hey, now let me play with words, and then how I will say, I gift a present to my married friend or whatever, something like this. Because then I will see gift in English, how it translates to Norwegian, and I will already battle this false friend right away. So I do this preemptively. And if I don't, I will get those memory interferences. It's just a matter of time.
I haven't created by hand these items. I do learn it semantically. Because first I learn from the PDF.
Hey, I worked as a teacher in where? In the University of whatever, so I can buy a gift because my friend was getting married. Something like this. Hey, oh, how will say that in Norwegian? Da, 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 da. So you first you become very endogamic in the sense that you reuse a lot of the examples you know because of lack of variety, but this is very short term. Then you will have other jobs. It won't have to be a professor. Then you will have carpenter, or when you have animals, it's cat, dog, or whatever. But then you will have more vocabulary, and it's incremental, but each step it's not linear. It's how you call it, exponential growth. I have done this with Korean. I had everything put already, the material I had, but I just don't care because I want to do my own, and I can do it so easily now. That hey, now I have apple, milk, and fridge. Hey, let me do some combinations with what I already know, and I can do my own sentences. And hey, let me verify with AI, or the other way around. With AI, hey, let me generate them. Perhaps they're not exactly what they said, but at least I know. Okay, I know this will be correct. And then the formality, I say the same, but more formally than others. Depends on the language you learn. That will be a component. So the semantics are the same. It's just that it's a lot more formal than the other sentence. Stuff like this. It's not just it's better, it's extremely more pleasurable. That's why this, what I do here, could be the case if they are the top 500, so a very tiny thing, and it's something that is very straightforward. Not those words that, yeah, there's no kind of translation, direct translation. So you have old, new, north, south, left, right, this kind of thing that usually there's a straight translation. Beyond that, I don't see the point to do this at all. Please don't. And please don't do Duolingo either. If your point is to learn a language, you're not going to do that in Duolingo in the long term.
And then
topic for another video. Let me know if you want to discuss this.
Here. And I don't review right away. So let's say I go for blocks. So this will be the next block.
Yeah, exactly. So even if I added everything in one chunk, I don't put everything memorized or whatever. I still go by chunks. In Anki, you will do 20 a day or whatever metric you have set of new cards. Remember that in Supermemo, there's no new card, no item at all. Because it's meant to be used through incremental reading.
Block of 20 items. I go one by one to make sure, okay, I have seen this in the textbook.
Det går bra.
Oh, this makes sense.
Ha det bra.
Because in some cases, the pronunciation, there's some irregularity in the pronunciation or in the spelling.
Ha det.
So when I do this, I am doing a passive review before the first actual review because it's pending.
Exactly. So I import this through XML, but I don't do the rep right away. At least I see it at least once. So when I see it as a kind of a genuine item, at least it's something I have seen first, before. Not the same that doing the flashcard yourself, but well, at least I wanted to mitigate at some degree. No comments as before. Nice. And then the changes in the stats. Yeah, last video about the milestone. Let me put this back to public, by the way. They have only been unlisted for a few weeks, by the way. So the views you see here is mostly genuine. And some videos, if you check the watch time, in the last 3 months, they got a few minutes. So I didn't bias the performance because of, hello there, I'm publishing this. This, again, 0 views. Oh, what a bummer. This has chapters, intro. Oh my god, an intro that is 2/3 of the of the video, and stats and results. Okay, let's see this.
Welcome to Pleasure Learning Supermemo. So, just yesterday I did 100. So I will take the incremental approach. So I will be doing the videos in different batches.
Then I do verify that yes. In that case, I recorded generally separately, and the video started with something random because of editing mistake. Sometimes I don't. It was I did this for the course. Sometimes it was one shot. Sometimes after I have done that, then I record incremental ratings. So I do the intros of what I will be splitting, and sometimes it's a different day that I do it. But because I wear the same thing and so on, sometimes you cannot tell. If there will be weeks, perhaps because of the beer, you could tell the difference.
Different sessions and editing them eventually in different days. So instead of one video, I will be having a playlist, and that playlist will be having different videos. So let's say that instead of one huge, long video with thumbs,
That before this huge video meant half an hour, 40 minutes a maximum. Now, for me, when I say a big video, it's like the course, especially the mastery. 3 hour, 4 hour, 7 hour long video. Now if I do 20 minutes, half an hour, something below 1 hour, oh yeah, it's a video. I will not call it long.
thumbs,
Or
I
huge.
will be using a playlist with videos. So in that sense, you can watch only what you're keen to see. I'll be using color coding. So the background, let's say I use yellow for the most golden-like nuggets. In the sense that this will be a short video, but it's very dense in information
I didn't keep that color coding.
of what I discovered and so on. Maybe the background
This explains the intro. Bro, go to the point. It's almost half of the
will
video.
be gray, so it's more the viewers, you who are watching this, because then you can only focus on what you want, and you can tell, oh, just because of the background.
Yeah, it's there are pros and cons. I can have a longer video with chapters that you can choose what you see, or standalone videos. But sometimes, even if you have chapters that you could locate what you do, you're not even clicking that video because, 2 hour long, I'm not even clicking that thing. So what I have seen is that there's no rule of thumb. So I cannot say a pattern that, hey, shorter videos perform better than long videos. There are examples and counterexamples of every single case. So, I don't know.
I already know that's not.
Therefore, what I do is ask to my subscribers. I get some votes. For instance, I run a poll. And this very same series I'm doing, my intention was to have this in one chunk. But hey, I only reacted to the first 3 videos and I spent 5 hours. And the footage, real footage, was like what? 9, 5, and 3. So with that thing, for a month. So not even half an hour of footage, and I have 5 hours of footage. Reaction footage. Is, oh my god, this is not, if I have to do all of this, it's massive, right? Then it's okay, let me ask to my subscribers. And what I like is that there is people who like different things. It's not that, everyone is in the same page. It's good to know that some people will like even a huge video of a day long. And actually this happened. The full guide to Supermemo, look at this. It's beyond a day. And it's chaptered. Here, with a limitation of just 100 chapters, more or less. And then in the pinned comment, you have the 206 chapters. Here you go. And in more detail in the title, because there's also a limit of the characters you can put in the description. So you can have everything, and it's clickable, by the way. So what they do is just do what the subscribers tell me they prefer. More or less could be translated that most of my audience will want. Not everyone, of course. Instead of what I will do. Here I was just taking the decision myself. Hey, I want this to be split. Split it is. Hey, I want this to be grouped. Group it is. We have to take consideration of the audience. Now I know. Now I do. I don't know. Sometimes they ask and oh wow, I had the opposite result than I thought.
Of my interest, skip it, and so on.
So it doesn't matter. And sometimes I have both. I have the short versions and the entire thing duplicated. And let's see long term what works the best. No meaningful difference, and sometimes both have been elected. That in a year, no one watched the entire video. If it was 1 hour and a half or 8 minutes, no one watched the 8 minutes of that video either. That was the same video in fractions. So,
Okay, since you can see the stats.
okay, changing the stats. We have seen this before, but at least what I now pay attention to that I didn't before is the where is it? Oh my god! Total time, 8 hours. So regardless of the repetition quantity, because those are faster, that's why it decreased the average answer time to 3.7 seconds. I only spend 8 hours. What it is? So even with language learning, even with pre-made cards, so a usage of Supermemo that is closer to Anki style, I still only clocked not even 9 hours in 3 months, meaning not even 3 hours per month. In my Anki days, I would have done this in 3 days. Literally. Every week, I will do the equivalent of 3 months twice. It's absurd. It's to emphasize what I have said before in this video, the difference in the metrics, so the amount of time and repetition I'm putting on, and at the end of the day to memorize the same thing, and in lower quality, less semantic, and less applicable and so on, it tells you the absurd difference of performance. It's not even, that's why there's no even need to go into details and get software to be precise, that many repetitions of the graph, because the difference is abysmal. So it's order of magnitudes. It's not that it's 20% better, 30% better. It's how many fold better, 10-fold, 20-fold. It's like this. It's absolutely absurd. That's why it pains me that I spent more than 3,000 hours of recall time. I also needed to create manually the flashcards, most of them. If instead of this, I did incremental reading, where I will be today, if I would have used this time efficiently. So the time I don't have today, now I'm in the opposite position. I know how to invest my time efficiently, but now the quantity of time I have is very little, the opposite of what I had. So imagine what I would have been, the amount of knowledge I would have today. I'm pretty sure I will be able to speak fluently the language I wanted to learn, like English I'm doing now, with the other ones, Norwegian, Japanese, Korean, and even Mandarin Chinese, like for language learning and for what everyday details, all of the things I did in Supermemo. So in engineering, now with AI, the background in mathematics. I will be more knowledgeable. And my daily life will still be more productive, fulfilling, and efficient than today. So I still experience the pleasurability. So I won't increase the pleasurability. I think I'm already at max out, right? But I will be more efficient in life. I could communicate more things and better, reach more people, grow my audience, adjust my discourse to communicate the message to different demographics better than I do today. And many things that, oh my God, I cannot backtrack in time. At least I want you to learn this, especially if you're young. Don't do this. Even if you don't understand it, question yourself why. I was like you before, when I was 20. I paid a huge, tremendous cost in time, and as a consequence, because putting hours every single day to do thousands of reps, that meant no social life or very little, no dating for years, no exercising, boredom. I paid a huge price, not just time-wise. This is what I want to convey. To nothing. It's not that just, okay, I do this because I'm overworked, but at least at the end of the day, in 13 years, I'll have paid over the mortgage. Okay, you have sacrificed something, but to gain something else, right? Now you don't have mortgage. Now you can do whatever you do. You have more leverage than before. No, it's not this. It's not this case. What you do is that you sacrifice something to no gain, at all. You just thought you were gaining, just artificial metrics, vanity metrics.
Changed a lot since last month. And that's because I imported the advanced English. I had the collection as a separate collection, and I did very few tries. I just didn't try it for real. I did
very few repetitions, so I didn't try it for real, is what I meant.
This time, and then I just merged the collections. Repetition count. 8,416.
Oh, let's see what they say.
This is huge. I think I did like 2,000 repetitions in a week. So this affected a lot in the stats. For instance,
imagine, so it's 8,000 that if we compare with the previous month, it's still reasonable if I did language learning. But imagine, only 2,000 are in a week because I did items from the English collection. And especially at the beginning, there are a lot of cards that are given. The vocabulary is very basic for me. So I had a higher speed. Imagine, so for a week in Supermemo, I had the behavior of Anki. And look how absurd it is. 2,000 out of 8,400. It's about a third of what it was, or a quarter of what it is today, has been done in a week. 100 days, 3 months, and in 1 week, you do a quarter already. And what did I gain with those repetitions? Very, very little. So if I subtract what I had before and what I have now, that it's just 2,000 repetitions of already created flashcards, and some redundant at some degree, because my proficiency was not at zero. What did I gain with those 2,000? Very little. So to put a number, if my knowledge, the volume of my knowledge was a liter, to say some unit, arbitrary, I have a liter 0.5. So even if I added 25% of the time commitment, I only added 5 milliliters. Remember the compression analogy we did before. So instead of a liter, I want to compress. Oh, now it's 1 centimeter, the square, instead of 10 per 10, that it will be a liter. It's 100 better. It's only occupying 1% of the space, but contains the same knowledge. We're talking those degrees of comparison. It's not that it's 25% more time. which it is, but the quality of the learning, the knowledge acquired, are the orders of magnitude, are 2 zeros less. Or the efficiency has 2 zero more. So instead of 1%, we're talking 10,000%. It's exponential, absolutely exponential.
Retention is a lot higher. It's 96%. Last time I just went to 95%.
Do you see my average repetitions per item is not even 3? This is not a thing. I can tell you this in Anki will be impossible. And especially before FSRS. But even before FSRS, I'm telling you, you're not getting this low quantity of repetitions per item with this degree of retention. And if you don't do language learning, it will still be even crazier than that. You will need still not 3 months, but more than half a year to have 30 repetitions in by average.
So I gained 1% with very little time, and this is because the first items of the advanced.
Exactly, because these 2,000 repetitions I did, most of them were easy and increased. I had about 95. I didn't reach it. I remember it was 94.90 something, very high, but not getting 95 to 96. That's why the retention rate overall doesn't tell you much. Depends on what you do. If you do pre-done content, you will have a very high retention rate. If you do more repetitions than necessary, you will have a high retention rate. That is translate to using that knowledge, applying that knowledge in real life. Absolutely not. It's a different thing. That means that if you do 5,000 passive recognition items, you will have 96% retention rate. It's not the same as recall rate, but then to simplify, let's say recall rate. See, if I present this to you now, the 5,000 you have memorized, in any time, you will be able to recall 96% of them. This is what it means. Doesn't mean anything else. That doesn't mean that you are able to speak Norwegian with 5,000 active vocabulary in that language, and you can use them in any sentence. Nope. Absolutely, 96% of the time. Nope. That's a different thing. This is just a metric of what you do. If what you do is very low quality of recognition, that is a very high percentage of very low quality of recognition. It is what it is. It's what you're doing. There's no magic here. That's why you'll see some people, not necessarily with Duolingo, but this kind of user. Hey, I use Duolingo for 3 months or 3 years, and I cannot properly speak the language. Which after 3 years of daily usage, because you want to keep the streak, you should, right? Or hey, I have memorized, which is most my mistake, that I said to my best friend, how is that even possible? I have more knowledge than you, in the sense that I have more vocabulary in English than you, by a mile. I even could say that I have more vocabulary than the average native speaker, because of the flashcards I did, right? Yep. But hey, have you ever tried to speak English? Look at myself at the beginning, how broken my English was, and how many mistakes I was doing in the pronunciation. Oh, nope. I didn't thought of that, because in the school system you're not taught. First, you're not taught the pronunciation most of the time, and it's not even required, because the exam you don't speak. There's listening, at least, and everything else is text. So, you know what I mean? Nice.
Advanced connection was very easy for me. So I almost hit easy.
So the quality of if you call it training, then you become a martial artist and you will perform better. So the quality of your training will decide the quality of your performance on the ring. Same here. It's what you do. It's very inefficient methods. What you will get is a very inefficient outcome. And then is that easy?
Easy. How it's called? Excellent. Okay. Excellent response, and so on. And this also affected the average time, as you can see. Last time, I think last week I talked with Nias in Discord, and at that time I had 4.2 seconds. The average time.
This happens sometimes that I send a screenshot, then I see that myself is, oh, wait a second. It was 1 week I sent a screenshot, and this has changed dramatically and whatever.
Now it's half second less in a week.
And half second of more than 8,000. So to lower the average by half a second has to be equivalent of 4,000 seconds less than the actual average. So that's a big deal.
That's because
So that's what I will need now. Before it was 6,000. So with 6,000 I would have needed 3,000 seconds faster than the average. That means that are much quicker than 3.7. Because if I have 5 point something, 3.7, they have to be below that to lower the average. So they're like bam, 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 yeah. Oh, mitochondria, pa. Yeah, you do this very fast, but what you're gaining. And what you're doing with your brain. Road.
the advanced items, like the first 500, have been so quick and so easy. So this is what happens where you're not using your own collection.
And especially language. What you will do, hey, this is not useful, I delete. So you keep the ones that are useful for you, and that's it. Nice. And I think I didn't get any comment? Exactly. So I will put this back to public. Then there's nothing else to add in the 3 months milestone. Just to let you know that the next ones will be super short, like 4 months, the next month. Yeah, I just split collections, the opposite of what I had here in this video. I merged the advanced use collection, then I will split it next month. There is still some value, but from here we'll speed much quicker. So from now, the videos we had for 1 month milestone and so on are rather long, but yeah, keep in mind we're having diminishing returns. Every time, yeah, this has been covered already. So we only add what's new and so on. That's all for now. See you incrementally.